The Void. The Void is an extra-dimensional realm of chaos and nothingness, a primal force outside conventional reality. It predates the known universe, embodying an unknowable nothingness. The beings native to the Void, the ancient godlike Watchers, first became aware when the world formed. They viewed existence as unnatural, and their objective became annihilation, erasing reality and returning everything to nothing. Because the Watchers could not exist permanently in reality's physical laws, they created corporeal agents, the Voidborn, by corrupting matter and imparting twisted life. These Voidborn infiltrate worlds, devour organic matter and magical energies, spread corruption, and prepare the ground for greater Void incursion. Whenever a Void rift opens, such as during the historic catastrophe of Acathia, Voidborn surge through, corrupting land, warping reality, and transforming landscapes into hostile wastelands. In the context of Runeterra, the Void represents the ultimate existential threat, a hungry ancient force that seeks to erase everything. Bandle City. Bandle City is the homeland of the Yordles. The true location and nature of Bandle City are uncertain, its borders and pathways are thought to shift, and it only reveals itself under particular mysterious conditions. Within Bandle City, the environment is said to influence perception. For outsiders who manage to glimpse it, colors appear brighter, food and drink become deeply intoxicating, sunlight seems perpetually golden, waters crystal clear, and harvests endlessly generous. Time in Bandle City also behaves strangely. Some mortals who return from it reportedly age dramatically, while many never return at all, fostering rumors that Bandle City exists partially out of synchrony with the rest of the world. Their society remains largely mysterious to outsiders. Noxus. Noxus is a powerful imperial state in Runeterra, widely regarded as brutal, expansionist, and threatening beyond its borders. Historically emerging from a collection of warlike tribes, the people unified under the banner of Noxus, following the collapse of earlier civilizations and the end of ancient wars. Over centuries, Noxus transformed from a marauding tribal confederation into a structured meritocratic empire, one that values strength in many forms: military might, magical talent, cunning, or intellectual skill. Social mobility is one of Noxus's defining features. Individuals from humble or foreign origins can rise to prominence if they demonstrate aptitude and loyalty, a sharp contrast to rigid aristocratic societies. This openness attracts a diverse population, making Noxus culturally inclusive despite its warlike reputation. Politically, in its modern form, Noxus is ruled not by a single monarch, but by a ruling council known as the Tripharics, which balances three core virtues: vision, might, and guile, reflecting the empire's philosophy that power and success can come through different paths. Because of its expansionist ambitions and historic invasions, notably into distant regions, many outsiders view Noxus as a threat, but to those within its borders it offers opportunity, the chance to rise through merit, to prove one's worth, to shape one's destiny. Ionia. Ionia, often called the First Lands, is a sprawling archipelago of islands off the east coast of Valoran. Its geography is defined by lush forests, ancient mountains, tranquil rivers, and magical glades, a land where natural magic permeates the environment, blurring boundaries between the physical and spiritual realms. The people of Ionia, including humans and the mystical Vastaya, have historically lived by philosophies of harmony, balance, and spiritual attunement. Their society is organized not as a centralized kingdom, but through many provinces, villages, monasteries, and spiritual orders, each following their own traditions, beliefs, and ways of life. Ionia's spiritual culture places deep reverence on nature, ancestral spirits, and ancient magic, often emphasizing self-sufficiency, introspection, and respect for the land. For centuries, Ionia avoided many of the large-scale conflicts plaguing other parts of Valoran. Its people preferred tranquility over conquest, and its defenses were typically limited to regional militias and warrior monasteries rather than standing armies. That changed when the expansionist Noxus invaded, seeking to exploit Ionian magic and lands. The invasion caused widespread devastation, displacing many communities, shattering long-held peace, and forcing Ionia into a painful transformation. Targon. Targon is a remote and mountainous region in Runeterra, defined by Mount Targon, the tallest and most legendary peak on the planet. The mountain rises sharply from the surrounding land and is largely uninhabitable except for hardy tribal peoples and a few isolated settlements at its base. The peoples living around Targon, most notably the tribal group called the Rakor, have for generations held deep reverence for celestial phenomena. To them, the shimmering stars, suns, moons, and constellations seen from Targon's slopes are the signs of powerful cosmic beings. Targon's lore includes the concept of aspects, ancient celestial entities whose power can be bestowed upon mortals deemed worthy. Those who successfully ascend Mount Targon and survive its trials may be imbued with an aspect's power, reshaping their fate and granting them abilities beyond mortal norms. Shurima. Shurima was once a vast and powerful desert empire, dominating much of the southern continent of Runeterra. At its heart stood a magnificent capital built around the sun disk, a divine artifact said to channel celestial power. Through the sun disk, certain mortals underwent the ritual of ascension, becoming the immortal god warriors known as the Ascended Host. These Ascended were the backbone of Shurima's military might, enabling it to conquer many lands and ensure centuries of prosperity. Under this golden age, Shurima flourished. It maintained a grand capital, lush oasis-filled desert regions, thriving trade routes, and a civilization built on sun worship, culture, and power. However, the empire's downfall came with tragedy and betrayal. During the ascension ritual of its final emperor, the ritual was sabotaged by his trusted magus, causing the sun disk to shatter. The capital was destroyed, the desert engulfed, and the empire collapsed. Wars, internal strife, and the unleashing of dark forces further fractured the land. Over millennia, Shurima degenerated into scattered nomadic tribes, mercenaries, and scavengers, eking out survival among ruins and oases. In recent times, myths of resurrection and lost glory have resurfaced. Legends speak of a reborn empire and a rising sun over the sand-blown ruins, suggesting that Shurima may one day reclaim its place among Runeterra's greatest civilizations. Freljord. Freljord is a frozen, rugged region in the far north of Valoran, a land of ice, snow, glaciers, and bitter winds. Its environment is harsh and unforgiving. Icy plains and mountain ranges dominate the landscape, and bitter winters persist year-round. The people of Freljord are organized in independent warrior tribes, each shaped by survival and self-reliance. Society values strength, perseverance, and toughness. Inhabitants are often considered wild and rugged by outsiders. Historically, the region was once spiritually and magically influenced by ancient beings, demigods, and primal forces who shaped the land and forged early civilizations among the tribes. As time passed, tribal conflicts and a legendary civil war among three great powers fractured Freljord. Some seek to preserve traditional strength and survival of the fittest ideals. Others hope for unity. Still others follow darker, arcane paths tied to ancient magic. Demacia. Demacia is a proud, lawful kingdom, renowned for its strong military heritage, strict moral code, and cultural emphasis on justice, honor, and duty. The kingdom was born in the aftermath of the deadly magical conflicts known as the Rune Wars. Refugees seeking safety settled in a land rich with a magic-dampening mineral called petricite. Over time, this refuge became a full-fledged nation that deliberately rejected sorcery, building its cities, fortifications, and many of its tools from petricite in order to suppress magic. Geographically, Demacia comprises fertile farmland, dense woodlands, and mountain ranges, making it relatively self-sufficient and capable of sustaining its population without heavy dependence on foreign trade. The nation is ruled by a constitutional monarchy. The king acts as both head of state and commander-in-chief of its elite forces, while a council of noble houses provides governance oversight. After the recent death of its king, succession tensions have arisen, and the kingdom's long-standing anti-magic stance is under pressure, especially as some citizens begin questioning whether rigid adherence to tradition can adapt to a changing world. The Shadow Isles. The Shadow Isles were once called the Blessed Isles, a lush, vibrant archipelago famed across Runeterra for its life-giving magic and peaceful civilizations. Scholars, arcanists, and nature spirits dwelled among magical forests and healing springs, devoted to knowledge, art, and the stewardship of powerful artifacts. The islands were protected by a shroud of mist, mystical, benign, and hidden from the outside world, that all changed with a catastrophic event known as the Ruination. An attempt to resurrect a lost loved one unleashed a ripple of necromantic energy that shattered the isle's magic balance. The sacred mists turned black and malignant. The Blessed Isles were consumed by the pall of death, and their serene beauty gave way to decay. Life itself was corrupted. Today, the Shadow Isles are a cursed archipelago, enveloped in the haunting ever-present veil known as the Black Mist. Living beings who set foot there risk having their life essence drained. Those who die within the mist are doomed to rise again as tormented spirits trapped in eternal undeath. The islands are now overrun with undead, wraiths, revenants, and restless souls. On certain nights, the Black Mist expands beyond its shores in events called the Harrowing, sweeping across seas and threatening nearby lands with spreading death and spiritual corruption. Piltover. Piltover, often called the City of Progress, is a prosperous city-state perched on cliffs above the undercity of Zaun, overlooking the sea. As one of Valoran's major trade hubs, Piltover's sea gates host fleets of merchant vessels carrying goods from across Runeterra, a source of considerable wealth. Rather than relying on military strength, Piltover's influence stems from commerce, craftsmanship, and innovation. Driven by powerful merchant clans and inventive minds, the city has become a center for technological and arcane mechanical breakthroughs, especially involving hextech, a fusion of magic and engineering. Architecture, trade, research, and art flourish here. Historically, Piltover emerged as the commercial and technological heir to an older settlement whose foundations tied to Zaun. Its rise was accelerated by the creation and exploitation of hextech crystals, which gave its inventors and traders unmatched advantage over rivals. Zaun. Zaun lies beneath and around the foundations of its sister city Piltover, sprawling across deep canyons and industrial valleys, where daylight is often filtered through thick fumes and haze. Once part of a unified settlement with Piltover, Zaun has grown into a densely populated undercity, a volatile mix of chemical industry, arcane mechanical inventions, and survivalist society. The inhabitants of Zaun, often called Zaunites, come from many backgrounds. Despite harsh conditions, Zaun is a hub of innovation, especially for those excluded or restricted in Piltover's stricter environment. Inventors, alchemists, and engineers often migrate to Zaun to pursue risky or controversial experiments, particularly in chem and hextech-based technology. The city's social structure is informal and decentralized. Power often rests in the hands of influential industrialists, chem barons, rather than a traditional centralized government. Ixtal. Ixtal is a secluded jungle nation located in the eastern jungles of the Shuriman continent. Known across Runeterra for its unparalleled mastery of elemental magic, Ixtal's mages specialize in manipulating natural forces, fire, water, earth, air, metal, and other elements, through a disciplined magical system unique to the region. Historically, Ixtal was among the first independent nations to willingly join the Empire of Shurima, not by conquest, but through an alliance. Over time, however, the Ixtali distanced themselves. After witnessing catastrophic events like the fall of Icathia and the spread of dangerous powers across Runeterra, they withdrew into their jungles, isolating themselves from outside influence. At the heart of Ixtal lies Ixaokan, a hidden arcology-style city where the ruling caste, the Yuntal, studies and refines elemental magic. Because Ixtal remains largely off-maps and hidden in dense jungle, few outsiders truly understand its full scope. The Ixtali view many other kingdoms as upstarts and remain cautious of intruders. Bilgewater. Bilgewater is a chaotic port city, nestled among the islands of the Blue Flame Isles, also historically tied to the indigenous Buhru people. It acts as a haven for those seeking fortune or escape. Smugglers, pirates, mercenaries, monster hunters, and outcasts from across Runeterra converge here. The city's economy and survival revolve around perilous sea ventures, chiefly hunting sea monsters and harvesting their remains. These hunts supply exotic materials, which are traded or bartered in Bilgewater's bustling docks and black market bazaars. Bilgewater lacks centralized governance or formal law. Instead, power is distributed among pirate captains, gang leaders, and influential crime lords. Violence, betrayal, and shifting allegiances are common.